Hello, children. This is Grandma's Angels again with the rest of the story of Joseph of Egypt, as I started telling you yesterday. So I left off where Joseph was put in prison on a lie that Potiphar's wife had said that he had tried to rape her, which she lied and it was not true. But nonetheless, Joseph is getting punished for something he did not do. And so you can see prison life is not fun. And he was not treated kindly in the beginning. But as the story goes, Joseph was in prison for some time, and the head guards, the top guards, got to know him and his nature. He was a humble man, a humble boy, and or young man. He was humble, he was kind to everybody, he was truthful and honest, and they could see these great qualities in Joseph. So they made him head of the new prisoners that came into the prison. And so anyway, the prison, the chief butler and the chief baker, they were servants to the king, the Pharaoh, in the palace. And they did something to make the king mad at them, and the king put them both in prison. Now, Joseph, even though he's in a high position in the prison, high meaning that he looked over everybody and to see what their needs were and things like that. But even so, he was still lower than these two prisoners that came from the palace. Because of their standing position outside in the world in the palace, they still were over him, Joseph, because he was a slave. And a slave is thought of the lowest form of humanity. So Joseph served them and kindly. Well, remember back in the beginning when I said Joseph was an interpreter of dreams? That he was given this gift to understand what these dreams meant that came from God. Well, one day the chief butler and the chief baker came to Joseph, or they looked very sad, and Joseph said, "What is wrong? What's making you so sad?" And the chief butler said, "I had a dream last night, but I don't know what it means." So he explained the dream to Joseph, and Joseph said, "I know what the dream means. It means that in 3 days, you will be set free from prison here, and you will go back in to the Pharaoh's good graces, and you will be his butler again and serve him. He will forgive you." And so with that, the chief baker thought, "Oh, I had a dream too last night, and I want to tell you what it is so you can give me good news too." And so the baker tells Joseph his dream, and that there's 3 baskets on his head, and the birds are eating from the basket on the top. And so Joseph says, "I know what that dream means, Chief Baker. It means that in 3 days, the Pharaoh is also going to let you out of prison, but he's going to hang you, and you're going to die and be hung from a tree, and the birds are going to eat off of your flesh." So pretty severe, huh? But anyway, so that, though in 3 days, those things came true. But before the chief butler left, Joseph told him, "You're going back into the palace to the king. Please don't forget me. Please tell the king about me so that I can be set free and I can tell that I didn't do this thing. I didn't deserve to be in prison here. I want to be set free too." And so the chief butler says, "Oh, yes, yes, I will tell the king." Well, he gets out there and he gets back in the palace and back to his duties again of serving the king, the Pharaoh. He did not tell anything about Joseph. He forgot all about him and just left Joseph in the prison without telling the king of Joseph's gifts that he has, that he can interpret dreams. So that's the prison life. Now, sometime later, the time came, and now the king, the Pharaoh, had a dream. And he called all his magicians to his side and said, tell me what this dream means. Interpret this dream for me. They tried and tried, but none of them could interpret the dream. And so he said, what am I to do? I need to have this dream interpreted. I need to know what this dream means. Being a king, he had a lot of responsibility. So he needed to know what this dream meant. It was really bothering him a lot. So anyway, now the butler remembers Joseph and that he's still in prison. So he goes to the king and he said, King, I know who can help you with this dream. He's a slave that's in the prison. Well, now the king was astonished. A slave interpret my dream and he's in prison? How can this be? But the butler assured him and told him how he told what was going to happen to the butler and the baker, and both things did happen. The butler was brought back into the palace and the baker was killed at the king's command. And the king remembered that. And so he said, well, send for him. Go bring him to me. I want to see if he can interpret my dream for me. So they send for Joseph and they bring Joseph up to him, up to the king. And the king tells him how there are 7 very lean cows. Lean meaning they were so skinny, they looked like they were starving. Their ribs were showing and they were just very skinny, as you can see here. And then there was, on the opposite side, there were 7 fat cows. And so, but in the dream, the lean cows, the very skinny cows, ate up the fat cows. But then they still looked very skinny and lean. They didn't look healthy or strong or anything. And so the king's, what do I make of that? And then it was with 7 ears of corn too, 7 skinny ears of corn and 7 fat ears of corn. And the 7 skinny ears of corn ate up the fat ones and still looked very bad and skinny and withdrawn. Okay, so now the king wants to know, what does this mean? And Joseph said, both dreams mean the same thing. They are together. What it means is for the next 7 years in this land, there's going to be plentiful. There's going to be fruit and vegetables and cattle, and everything is going to produce double and triple. It's going to be very, very good. And you can make a lot of money from growing so much. It's going to be very reproductive in the country, in the land. The earth will produce much fruit and vegetables. Well, and wheat and grains that they needed in those days. And so, but then the next 7 years is going to be famine, which means that the ground will produce nothing. No more animals will reproduce. Everything's going to be very, very meager, very lean, and very, famine is hunger. You cannot grow anything. Now, all of this message is coming from God in these dreams, okay? And God is telling him. But Joseph interpreted the dream right. And the king felt that this was the meaning of his dreams. So he believed Joseph, and he said, I need to put somebody in charge of this and fill up our silos, that they're full to the max, and that we produce as much as we can during these first 7 years that will sustain our lives for the following 7 years of hunger to come. So they will have enough food for all of the country to be able to come to Egypt and buy food for their families. Okay, so he said, I can't think of anybody better than you, Joseph, to be in charge of this. And I give you the high position as right under me. He said, the only person that will be over you in this whole land is me, the king. Otherwise, you are over everything. You will oversee all the food and growing it and filling the granaries and filling the fields with the animals, and just you will be in charge of everything, and everybody will do whatever you tell them to do. Now, this is a very high position. Joseph goes from slavery to prison, from prison to the second highest in the whole kingdom of Egypt and the countryside. So Joseph is astonished that he's got such a high position now. And so time goes on, and for 7 years, he does what he was told to do. And everything is plentiful. They've got plenty of food, more than enough. Now, when famine started, the whole countryside was going hungry. Their food was diminishing. It was going down and down and they couldn't grow anything. They couldn't reproduce their stocks. They couldn't get any more food. So families were starting to starve. Well, remember Joseph's family had the brothers that threw him into the pit, and Joseph had a dream that they would one day bow down to him. Now, this is like 20 or more years later, okay, after they threw him into the pit. Now, all of a sudden, he sees 10 of his brothers come before him, and they want to buy granary from him and food from him that they can take it back to their families in Canaan and feed their families so they don't starve to death. Well, they did not recognize Joseph, because now Joseph is dressed like an Egyptian, which has the headpiece and a lot of makeup on their face, and he's 20 years older. He's not a young boy anymore. He's a man in his 30s or so. So he recognizes his brothers, okay, because they haven't changed much. They were grown men when they threw him in the pit, but they don't recognize Joseph with the makeup and everything. And so Joseph sees them and thinks, well, what am I going to do? He realizes that's his brothers, and he goes off into another room and he cries. He just cries because he loves his brothers, but at the same time, they did him so wrong, and they hurt him so badly, and they were so mean and vicious that he doesn't know if they're the same men or if they've changed at all. Well, here they are, bowing to Joseph, just like the 11 sheaves in Joseph's dream when he was a teenage boy. And you can see the brothers are all bowing to him. He's like a king now. He's second to command in the whole country. And so anyway, he has power to destroy his brothers now or to forgive them. And so Joseph, like I said, goes in the other room and cries, but then he comes back. And he doesn't know if his brothers have learned anything from throwing him down in the pit and selling him as a slave, or if they're the same vicious, hateful men that they were 20 years ago. So he has to put them to a test. So he tells them, I'm going to fill up your horses with grains, bags, big fat grains, and fruits and vegetables and everything that you need to go back and feed your families. And so they're all so grateful. Oh, yes, they're so happy now. Their families are going to survive because Joseph is giving them all this food. Although they don't know that this is Joseph, like I said. So they get on their way now, going back to their families, and their horses and donkeys are loaded with food, okay? But Joseph had a plan. He took his gold cup that he had and stuck it in one of the bags of granary, because he's putting his brothers through a test, okay, to see if they've changed or not. Well, he sends his guards after the brothers now to cut open their bags of grain and see who stole from the master who gave them so much food to take back to their families. Who would steal from him? That's a dishonorable thing to do. And the oldest brother says, we would never steal from him. We're so grateful for his kindness. We would not steal from him. And he said, if anybody is found here with his gold cup in their granary, they will be Joseph's slave for the rest of their lives. And so the guards go and slice open everyone from the oldest brother down to the youngest. Now remember, the youngest brother was Benjamin. I don't think I told you his name the first time, but his name was Benjamin. He was younger than Joseph. He was not part of throwing Joseph into the pit. He loved Joseph, and he was an innocent boy himself. Well, anyway, they get down to Benjamin's sack, they rip it open, and there's the gold cup of Joseph's. Now, the guards say, I'm taking him to prison. He's going to be a slave to Joseph, but they don't say Joseph. He has another name, an Egyptian name. So anyway, he says, I'm taking Benjamin back. And the brothers are, no, 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 you can't do that. That will kill our father. Our father loves him so much. He's the youngest of all his sons. Please don't take him. And they beg the guards, but the guards are under authority and order of Joseph to bring him back. So they deliberately put the cup in Benjamin's because Joseph wanted to see if his brothers changed, if they had a soft heart now full of compassion, or that were they still the hateful brothers that they once were. They all go back to Joseph and they beg Joseph not to keep their brother. Whoops, upside down. They beg the king here, Joseph, to not take their brother. It would surely kill their father. But Joseph is showing anger to them. Why would you steal from me when I've given you so much? And they begged for Benjamin not to stay there, not to be hurt. Don't put him as a slave, please. We have 11 of us here, but there's one brother missing. And they said, what? And Joseph, pretending like he doesn't know the story, he said, what happened to the other brother? And they said, well, we didn't do right by him, and he is no more. They think he's dead, okay? Well, then, but they're begging him, please don't take Benjamin. It will surely kill our father. Father loves him so much, and he's still mourning over the son that he did lose, and Joseph. And so Joseph hears this and realizes his brothers have changed. They deeply regret what they did to Joseph, but they can't take it back. Okay, so now Joseph has a decision to make. Can he punish them for what they did 20-something years ago, or does he forgive them? That's why I kept this up here. What do you kids think that Joseph did? Okay, he ended up forgiving his brothers, and he took off his headpiece and said, I am Joseph. They were astonished. They could not believe it. And here they are bowing to him. And this was in similitude of the dream Joseph had with those sheaves of straw back when he was a teenager. And here they are now. That dream is coming true. Sometimes dreams take that long to come true. But Joseph was put through a lot to reach where he is now. Now he will live a life of luxury the rest of his life. But the first 20-something years was very painful. But he had to learn through that pain how to stay humble, how to still be honest, even when people are lying about you. So anyway, he does forgive his brothers, and they are just so happy, so happy. That's the story. They ended up going home with all the food, and they told their father the truth of what they did to Joseph. And all their father could hear is, Joseph is still alive? He was so happy that Joseph was still alive and not dead. And he said, take me to him. No, they did. They packed up and they moved to Egypt. And Joseph put them up very well in their lives and treated them very good. But now Joseph was at a point, should he forgive or should he get revenge on them for the harm that he caused them, for the harm that they caused him? Anyway, as you know, he forgave them, as I've already said. That's what the lesson is about, children, to forgive. I know other children hurt you, and it's not right. It's wrong. You don't deserve it. Just like Joseph didn't deserve to be lied about by Potiphar's wife. He didn't deserve to be thrown in a pit. He didn't deserve to be treated like a slave cruelly and everything. He didn't deserve any of that, for he lived with honesty and truthfulness. You can do the same thing. We all can do the same thing. Just be honest in your life, children. Don't let anybody persuade you to lie or cheat or betray or anything like that. Build your character strong like Joseph did. He stayed true to himself, true to his character. And that's why I wanted to share this story. I know I've gone a little bit long, but that's why I kept this up here, because forgiveness is greater than vengeance. Compassion, more powerful than anger. So he chose forgiveness and not anger. Okay? So I think the story is a marvelous story of forgiveness and getting past your hurt and just keep going forward with your life. Let that hurt be behind you. Don't take it along with you into your future. No, just leave that pain and the disappointment and the harm you've been hurt, leave it behind you. Don't carry it with you for the rest of your life. Otherwise, whoever hurt you is still a part of you, still hurting you. Don't give them that kind of power over you. Don't let them continue to hurt you. It's in the past. Forgive it, let it go. Go forward with your brilliant, wonderful life, okay? So, children, I hope this story was a good one for you. I know I've gone long today, but anyway, that is a story. I hope you'll hold it dear and think about this, ponder about it. Anyway, be your best you, and truly be kind to others. Forgive, walk away, and go forward with your life. I say that all the time. All right, we'll see you again next time. Bye bye.